A 7-year-old girl screamed as massive jaws erupted from the river, dragging her under the black water. Her name was Amara. And this was no ordinary fish. Because what pulled her down that night wasn't hunting for food. It was hunting for revenge. 3 days earlier, Amara's village had broken a sacred law. A law older than memory itself. And now, the river wanted blood. The village of Kofi sat on the edge of the Zambura River, where the water runs so deep that even the elders claimed no one had ever touched its bottom. For generations, the people of Kofi lived by one unbreakable rule. Never fish after sunset. The river belonged to the spirits once the sun fell. Everyone knew this. Everyone obeyed. Until Amara's father didn't. His name was Awaken, a proud fisherman who'd fallen on hard times. His nets came up empty for weeks. His children were starving. His wife grew silent with worry. So one evening, as the sun bled red across the horizon, Awaken made a choice. He pushed his canoe into the water. Just this once, he told himself. Just to feed his family. The other villagers saw him. They shouted warnings from the shore. But Awaken didn't listen. He cast his net into the darkening river. And he waited. The water was eerily still. No birds. No insects. Just silence. Then his net grew heavy. Impossibly heavy. Awaken pulled with all his strength, and what came up made his blood turn cold. A fish, but not like any fish he'd ever seen. It was the size of a grown man, covered in scales that shimmered like black glass. And its eyes were human. Awaken screamed and released the net. The fish slid back into the water without a sound. But before it disappeared, it turned its head toward the shore. Toward Awaken's home. Toward his family. The elders said the river had seen everything. The river remembered everything. And the river never forgave. That night, Awaken's youngest daughter, Amara, began having nightmares. She woke up screaming about a voice calling her name from the water. A voice that sounded like singing and drowning at the same time. Her mother, Io, burned protective herbs and tied cowrie shells around Amara's neck. But the nightmares didn't stop. Before we continue, let me know where you are watching from, and remember to subscribe to this channel. On the third night, Amara walked to the river in her sleep. Her mother found her standing ankle-deep in the water, staring at nothing. When Io grabbed her and pulled her back, Amara turned and smiled. He says I'm coming home soon. Io's scream woke the entire village. The elders gathered at dawn. They sat in a circle beneath the ancient baobab tree and spoke in low, urgent voices. The oldest among them, a blind woman named Mama Koku, finally broke the silence. The river has chosen its price, she said. Awaken took what wasn't his. Now the river will take what is his. Awaken fell to his knees. Please. Not my daughter. Take me instead. But Mama Koku shook her head slowly. The river doesn't want you. It wants innocence. It wants what you were trying to protect. Io grabbed her daughter and held her tight. Then we leave. Tonight. We run far from this place. The elder's voice was like gravel. You can run to the ends of the earth. The river will find her. Water is everywhere. That night, despite the warnings, Awaken and Io decided to flee. They packed what little they had and waited until the village slept. But as they crept toward the forest path, Amara stopped walking. She was staring back toward the river. Amara, come, her mother whispered urgently. The little girl didn't move. He's calling me, Mama. And then she ran straight toward the water. Ogun and Io chased after her, screaming her name. But Amara was impossibly fast, her small legs moving like she was being pulled by invisible strings. She reached the riverbank and didn't hesitate. She jumped. And I know you are enjoying the story. Remember to subscribe to this channel. The moment Amara hit the water, it exploded. A massive fish, no, something far worse, erupted from beneath the surface. Its body was as thick as a tree trunk, covered in those same black glass scales. But now, in the moonlight, they could see something else. Faces. Dozens of human faces pressed beneath the surface of its skin, mouths open in silent screams. The creature's jaws opened wide, and it swallowed Amara whole. Io collapsed. Ogun dove into the water, thrashing and screaming his daughter's name. But the river was empty. The fish was gone. Amara was gone. For 3 days, the village mourned. Io wouldn't eat, wouldn't speak. Ogun sat by the river from sunrise to sunset, staring into the water. On the 4th day, something impossible happened. A child's voice echoed across the river. Papa! Ogun's head snapped up. There, standing on the opposite shore, was Amara. Alive. Wet, but unharmed. Ogun screamed her name and dove into the water. He swam faster than he'd ever swam in his life. When he reached the other side, he grabbed his daughter and held her. She was cold. So cold. Amara, how did you? She looked up at him with empty eyes. He let me go, Papa. Who? Who let you go? The River King. Ogun's blood froze. What did he want? Amara smiled. It wasn't her smile. He said you have 7 days. 7 days for what? Her voice dropped to a whisper. To bring him 7 children. Or the whole village drowns. Ogun carried Amara back across the river. When they reached the village, the elders took one look at the girl and stepped back in horror. That is not your daughter, Mama Koku said. Io grabbed Amara's face. What are you talking about? This is my child. But Mama Koku shook her head. Look at her shadow. Everyone turned. In the firelight, Amara's shadow didn't match her body. It was twisted, elongated, shaped like a fish. Io screamed. Ogun stumbled backward. And Amara, or whatever had returned in her place, laughed. It was a sound like water pouring over rocks. 7 days, the thing said again. Then it turned and walked calmly back toward the river. Io tried to grab her, but Ogun held her back. They watched as Amara waded into the water and vanished beneath the surface without a ripple. The village exploded into chaos. Some families tried to flee that very night. But every road out of Kofi led them in circles, back to the riverbank. The forest paths twisted and looped. The river had trapped them. Mama Koku gathered the remaining villagers. There is only one way to break this curse, she said. We must find the River King's true name. Speak it aloud at the place where the river begins. Only then can we command him to release us. And where does the river begin? Ogun asked. The elder's face was grim. In the cave of endless voices. 3 days' journey upstream. A place no one has returned from in living memory. A young hunter named Tao stepped forward. I'll go. Ogun shook his head. This is my fault. I'll go. Mama Koku raised her hand. You'll both go. And you'll take the girl's mother. The river took the child because of the father's greed. Only a mother's love can retrieve her. At dawn, Ogun, Io, and Tao set off in a canoe. The river was unnaturally calm. Too calm. As they paddled upstream, strange things began to happen. Voices whispered from the water. Children's voices, calling their names. Tao gripped his spear tighter. "Don't listen," he muttered. But Io couldn't help it. One of the voices sounded exactly like Amara. "Mama, help me. I am so cold." Io leaned over the edge of the canoe, staring into the black water. And she saw her. Amara, floating just beneath the surface, eyes wide, hand reaching up. "Io, no." Ogun grabbed his wife just as she was about to jump. The moment he pulled her back, the water where she'd been looking erupted. Massive jaws snapped shut on empty air. The fish, the River King, circled their canoe, its body creating waves that nearly capsized them. Tao thrust his spear at it, but the weapon bounced off its scales like he'd struck stone. The creature dove, and the river went silent again. They paddled for 2 more days. The jungle grew thicker, darker. On the 3rd day, they saw it. A cave mouth carved into a cliff face, so wide that their entire village could fit inside. Water poured from its depths like a black waterfall in reverse. This was it. The cave of endless voices. As they approached, the whispering started. Hundreds of voices. Thousands. All speaking at once. Some were begging. Some were screaming. Some were singing lullabies. Io covered her ears, but it didn't help. The voices weren't coming from outside. They were inside her head. They pulled the canoe onto a narrow ledge and entered the cave. Inside, the walls were covered in carvings. Faces. Thousands upon thousands of human faces carved into the stone. And beneath each one, a name. "These are all the people the river has taken," Tao whispered. Ogun's torch flickered. And in that brief moment of darkness, he saw something that made his heart stop. One of the faces looked exactly like Amara. And beneath it, a name was already carved. But it wasn't finished yet. The stone was still being cut. By invisible hands. Letter by letter. AMAI. Only 4 letters remained. "We are running out of time," Io breathed. They pushed deeper into the cave. The air grew colder. The whispers grew louder. And then they reached the source. A pool. Perfectly circular. Perfectly still. And in its center, something was rising. A figure made entirely of water. It took the shape of a man. Then a fish. Then a child. Then all 3 at once. When it spoke, its voice was every voice they'd heard in the cave. "You have come for the name." Ogun stepped forward. "Yes. We've come to break your curse." The River King laughed. "There is no curse. Only a debt. Your greed opened a door. Now the river must feed." "Then take me," Ogun said. "Spare my daughter. Spare my village." The River King tilted its head. "Your life is not enough. Then what do you want?" The creature leaned closer and whispered something that made all 3 of them freeze in horror. What did the River King demand? And how is it connected to a secret the village elders have been hiding for generations? Because the truth about the Zambura River is far darker than anyone imagined. And Amara's attack wasn't random. She was chosen for a reason. A reason buried in her own bloodline. Subscribe now, because in the next episode, you'll discover the shocking truth about who Amara really is, and why the River King has been waiting for her since the day she was born.